Jennifer here from Belladonna's Botanicals, and I am making an introduction to the video that will precede this introduction. And in this one, I'm talking about because I've seen this pop up on social media lately, and this is something I wanted to address because I do, as a business owner and a content creator, I do get these questions often. And this one I want to talk about because it's personal to me for two reasons. And I sat with the video for a couple days. I recorded it, I think, over the weekend. And I felt like I needed to add some more to it. So I'm adding some more to it. So the topic I'm discussing today, there's one that I'm passionate about because Lilith is my matron deity and has been for the past 5 years. At the time of recording this, we're summer 2025. Um, so 5.5 years at this point. I'm also deeply embroiled in my own ancestral trauma healing and integration, which I talk about a little bit in the video. As a business owner and content creator, I see a lot when it comes to topics surrounding cultural appropriation and closed practices. Two topics that are being more and more diluted by social media and TikTok witchy influencers who seem more interested in clicks and likes versus providing anything more than hot takes and the TLDR. This is closed practice. This is cultural appropriation, and there's nothing beyond that. We need a little more than in this day and age of misinformation and disinformation. We need a little more than just, the whisper down the alley, purple monkey dishwasher explanation. Because a lot of times when people are going in and declaring things cultural appropriation, that one is not part of their culture, and that culture may not practice that. And I talk about that a little bit in the video, because when you're foisting your beliefs onto another culture like that, it's kind of coming across in a Western imperialist kind of way, and is problematic on a different level. You're being a mouthpiece for people and speaking over them when these things may not be their belief structure, and it may go very, very much against who they are as a people. Um, and I've seen that, I've experienced that on my own. So that said, I'm responding to those who are running around claiming that Lilith is a closed practice to Judaism, which I suspected is probably not even coming from Jewish folks because, as I talk about in the video, no one I know has ever talked about this. Um, this seems to be that this is more of like a Reddit, TikTok, blog phenomenon, and not one that actually exists outside of the social media rage bait sphere. So, because I didn't include this in the original video, I did a little digging about that, and it turns out I was not wrong. So, the origin story, from what I can glean, is that it seems to have come from some girl with a superiority complex who wrote a blog post and declared ownership, and that so now apparently Lilith is a closed practice. Apparently, that's all you need to do is make a closed practice or cultural appropriation go, well, I'm sorry, guys. I'm declaring icebreakers mint cool mint a closed practice because for what? Why the fuck not? That's what it's coming across as. And I'm not trying to minimize instances in which cultural appropriation is a very big problem. I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but there's times when people are calling things cultural appropriation and declaring them closed practices when they're not, and they're centering themselves above that culture or above the people they're championing for what? Some more subscribers, followers, social media street cred, some more clicks and likes and all that. Um, Ew. So, and yeah, in my research go on, apparently rabbis were being flooded with questions about Lilith, if it was closed or not. Most were confused about because Lilith really isn't a dominant subject in Judaism. While Judaism as a religion is closed, it's not to say you can't convert, but you would have to go through the process of doing that. Um, you know, that's different. And again, if you know anything about Lilith, obviously her origin story predates Judaism, so that should tell you something right there. This goes back to Mesopotamian, Sumerian, pre-Canaanite. She falls into a lot of those different categories. Um, she was sort of, there's the Lilith, the Lilith 2, Lilith. I need to do a longer video kind of on some of the more ancillary Lilith stuff. She gets picked up into Babylonian culture and Judaism or early Judaism, and there seems to be a point at which the Lilith myths get mixed a little bit with the Lamashtu myths, if you're familiar with that. That's why of what I'm aware of in Judaica lore is, there's like protection bowls from Lilith, or there's like a certain thing you can put on cribs as like a talisman to ward against like Lilith or Lamashtu. But outside of that, all of that predates Judaism, so it pulls back further, and I don't know why we have become, I don't know if it's like this all over the world or if this is just a United States thing. I don't know why we are so obsessed with these firstisms. Like, Lilith works with whoever Lilith wants to work with, regardless of if you have Mesopotamian lineage, I guess. Um, but the point is, she was Lilith is not closed, and it's just TikTok and Reddits and subreddit group lore in and of itself. So that said, if you have questions about Lilith being closed, according to me, no. Um, and I would challenge anyone who says that, because I even saw this recently. Someone I was following at some point and promptly unfollowed on Threads was like, I can't believe there are still people out there working with Lilith that aren't Jewish. And I was like, sweetie, might you not nosh upon a hearty repast from our luxury handbag full of our most finest Richards? And then I unfollow them. Because this is how these things get perpetuated in that whisper down the alley kind of thing. And that's where the danger is, because we're making up shit that ain't true. We're making up shit that, for what? This person wants some kind of street cred, wants a little pat on the back going, oh, you claimed something as cultural appropriation? Fuck that. And what I want to talk about is, that said, given the history and broken lineages of Eastern Europeans, and specifically the Eastern European Jewry and said descendants, is we have missing generations. And to be told that you're appropriating something that is not closed, if you are not, which comes off as you're not Jewish enough. Well, this feels thinly veiled anti-Semitism and racism disguised as social justice. And I assure you, this topic, again, like I said, is important to me. And I go into this a little further, not only as a Lilith devotee, but also as someone with a broken Ashkenazi Jewish lineage. Somewhere between 1790, around the fall of the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, and say 1850, we go from Ashkenazi Jewish question mark to just kind of standard Slavic Balkan ancestry on my patrilineal side. So in that time frame, what I'm trying to do as I am going through my own ancestral healing and integration, trauma healing, and all of that, is I'm trying to historically put together the story of my family a lot, my family. And judging at the time at which and where we lived in, we would have been in the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth. Now, what happens there at the time to the Jews of that there, Catherine the not so great actually, shipped a lot of them off into Russia, and question mark, I have a missing fifth generation, where we go from Jewish to not. I mean, we have trace ancestry at this point. I mean, I wasn't raised in Judaism. I was raised in Byzantine Catholicism and Roman Catholicism. So, but the largest point I want to make about this is no group, culture, race, religion, whatever qualifier you want to put in there, is a monolith, in that every single person thinks and believes the exact same thing, feels the exact same way, because making such assumptions is also highly problematic. And when I talk about these things, I really want to talk about them on a deep, meaningful level. And this is something I'm passionate about. And if when you watch the video, I am very emotional about it because we're making a lot of assumptions based entirely on what someone looks like. I don't know, can you tell? Do I look Jewish? No. Because then again, that gets into problematic stuff. We're only looking skin deep as to what people look like. And I talk about that a little bit in the video. I'm practically translucent. The rest of my family is much more darker olive complected. So, you know, you don't know how you're going to come out in the end. I also don't spend a lot of time outside, so I don't tan. And when I do, I turn pink and then I go back to translucent. So I don't think I've had a tan since about 1991. And that took a lot of work. And quite frankly, don't have time to lay out by the pool every day. So, because I'm not 15 anymore. Anyways, but I digress. So, when you're seeing things coming up in this, oh, well, this is a closed practice, and this is cultural appropriation. Ask questions and do a little bit of research before you start, doing the whisper down the alley purple monkey dishwasher and transmitting that information. Because sometimes you are, in fact, transmitting disinformation and misinformation. And in this case, with Lilith being closed, it sounds like it was someone's like being like, I don't know. That sounds like some kind of like ego bullshit or like I don't know. Kind of has some pick me girl energy to it. Like, I want to look special by calling this out. And there are a lot of people that are out there, the pick me girls and stuff like that, that just want to be, you know, look like they're the wokiest woke that ever woke and stuff like that. And hey, being on the right side of history is one thing, but maybe not be telling revisionist histories and talking over people. Because what happens in a lot of these cases, I'm sure if I challenged that person on threads, I probably would have been canceled for whatever because I didn't agree. Um, and I think it's bullshit. But when I see those things coming down the pike over and over and over again, it is contributing to the anti-intellectualism in specifically the United States. Can't speak for the rest of the world, but excuse me, there's a lot of anti-intellectualism, and the misinformation and disinformation don't be part of the problem. You can have an opinion on something if you want, um, but the world has changed so much, and to look back at something from 500 years, looking back at something even from 50 years ago, 25 years ago, the world changed so much so fast. You can't look at something and be like, well, why didn't they? All right, I'll give you an example, completely unrelated, but conversation. So I'm going to assume this is probably a Russian propagandist or bot, but the premise on the whole thing was trying to prove that Ukrainians are Yazis because some sided with on the Third Reich during World War II. Okay, so Ukraine is here. Germany and Germany started taking over everything here, and you got Stalin's Russia over here. So you Ukraine. You've got three choices here. The Third Reich, Stalin, or death. Those are your choices. So it's easy to go back and do the, armchair quarterbacking of history, but also let's think about something. Social media didn't exist. News is, during wartime and news during, say, the 1930s and 40s, gonna be a lot different. It's you're talking pre-TV, you're talking, you maybe if you're lucky you had a radio. I don't exactly remember when TVs came out. I think it was in the 1950s, but you know, the modes of trans like if I live in a tiny little village, do you think are you gonna know? I remember hearing this story years ago that this was someplace that was so remote in Siberia. They didn't even know World War II happened. So we can't put 2025 awareness and mentality on things that happened a long time ago. It just doesn't work. And to look at it, you have to look at it in the time in which something existed. Anyways, I got a little off topic there, but I wanted to include that as an example of how we're judging things when we don't know the whole story, or we're putting our modern goggles on and looking at it like it's happening in 2025 with everything with all the technology and access to information we have in 2025. That wasn't available. So anyways, now that I've recorded this, just a little introduction and some clarification. Welcome to the video. I am very passionate about this, so enjoy the sassiness and snarkiness. I do not hold back on those things. If you watch this channel, you know that. So thank you. This is Jennifer from Belladonna's Botanicals. And if you're watching my channel for a number of years or any time, you'll notice our top video since 2020 has been on working with Lilith. And I wanted to talk about that a little bit because more and more I'm seeing a lot of the performative TikTok witchy types running around like, oh my God, I can't believe people are working with Lilith when Lilith is a closed practice to Judaism and stuff. I can't believe people are still out there working with Lilith. Oh my God. Well, I'm sorry, sweetie. I'll get right on telling my matron deity that I've been working with for 5 years to go fuck off because some idiot on the internet told me to. Check yourself, because I'm not doing that. And let's talk about this a little bit more because this is hella problematic in a lot of ways. So number one, like I said, Lilith has been my matron deity for the past 5 years. Many of us, especially those of us, I'm just going to talk about those of us of European descent because that's my wheelhouse. I can't really claim much else beyond that, but I'm Eastern European. And what I want to talk about here is when we make these judgments on that, you're making a judgment on how someone looks. And I think there's a word for that when you judge someone and you make a moral decision onto what they can and cannot practice when you are looking only, you're not looking anything below what I look like physically now. Do you know that on my patrilineal side, I have a nearly missing fifth generation where we go from Ashkenazi Jewish to into Balkan and Slavic, Ukrainian and Eastern European. I wasn't raised Jewish, but I have an entire fifth generation that's pretty much missing. And in Eastern Europe, it's not hard to figure out what happened there. There have been histories of pogroms all the way up until the Holocaust. You have everything that happened under the Soviet Union, the Holodomor. This goes back further, though. There's histories of pogroms and persecutions of Jewish people going back pretty much to the dawn of time. So anyways, but for someone to sit there and say that, and I'm like, I'm sorry, my ancestors had the audacity to get unalived and genocided and pogromed, and that's inconvenient for you. I'm so sorry that's hard for you, and you need to judge people for that. Because a lot of times it's not even coming from people who I have plenty of Jewish friends, and not a single one have been like, "Oh, sweetie, you shouldn't be working with with Lilith. She's close to Judaism." Not a single one. Um, Now there are different versions of Lilith. I'm not going to go into all of that right now. That may be a part of a longer piece I do on the different types of Lilith and where Lilith comes from and pre-Canaanite history and all of that. I am so tired of these bullshit witches like posturing for like social media street cred. So they look like, oh my God, I'm so like, look at me. I just called something out for being a closed practice. Pay attention to me. I am so vastly superior to everyone else. No, you're kind of rude and an asshole. Sorry, not sorry. Because I know I am not the only one with Jewish ancestry who has broken links and broken ancestry and broken lineages. Hi, have you not seen human history? Has not been kind. Um, so I have no problem working with Lilith because, while I may still have some trace Ashkenazi Jewish ancestry, I have no problem working with her. And anyone saying that, I don't know where this information comes from. And I feel like a lot of it, and I read a lot, I feel like the vast majority of it is coming from TikTok and like Reddit threads because I'm not reading this in any books. I just see people who just say like, "Oh my God, look at me, I'm special. Look at me for calling this out." And a lot of times it's just ill-informed. It's whisper down the alley knowledge transition, and I'm over it. Like I'm really like, how dare you tell me I shouldn't be working with with a matron deity that I've been working with for 5 years because I guess I'm not Jewish enough anymore because my ancestors had the audacity to get genocided. Oh, gee, I'm so sorry. That's hard for you. What I can speak of from my experiences, we have a lot of broken lineages in our healing practices, in our ancestry work, in our paganism. Slavic, I'm a Byzantine Catholic. I'm also a satanic demonologer, but I'm also now reconnecting with the Slavic pagan pantheon, and I can work with all these things in their own ways and integrate or compartmentalize them as needed. So you can't know by looking at someone what their lineages are, what their ancestry is. And it sure as shit makes a lot more sense why my grandmother made a rockin' fruit kugel. But the Jewish dish. But, there's a lot of things that are overlapping, especially in those areas in Eastern Europe. Really? And I've talked about this before, and because there's a lot of people out here. I understand gatekeeping, but people are getting a little fucking fashy about it in uncomfortable ways. Ew. How dare every time I see that, I talk to other friends who are Lilith devotees, and we're all just like, oh, for fuck's sake. Jesus Christ. You know what? Lilith works with anyone. Lilith works who Lilith wants to work with. If Lilith don't want to work with you, she ain't gonna work with you. You are not greater than Lilith. Your ego is not greater than Lilith. Lilith is Lilith. You are not. Because, not everyone is an arbiter, an expert on everything. They like to throw the TLDRs around. And if you run into this is why I'm making this video. Because this shit is that I don't want to say it's offensive because I don't get offended that often, but like, how dare you? How dare you? Like, how dare you look at me or anyone say, oh, well, I can't believe anyone is working with Lilith that isn't Jewish. And it's not even come from Jewish people, you know? I've never heard anyone say that to me. And if you want to, there's different ways and different versions and varieties of Lilith. There's different, when you talk about Lilith, the Lilin, Ardot Lily, and these all these different various forms of Lilith. This is primordial shit on some level, and there's a lot of things because we don't the world didn't function 2000 years ago the way it functions now. People, when I look at where my cultural ancestry mostly comes from Eastern Europe, it was all cultural exchange, unless you're Russia and are just going, this is mine and now it's Russian. This is mine and now it's Russian. This is mine and now it's Russian. And now I'm going to genocide you. Pretty much it's cultural exchange. There's a lot of cultural overlaps, even in language. I've been learning Ukrainian all year. Sadly, ran out of lessons on Duolingo, so I'm going to have to jump somewhere else to learn even more Ukrainian. But learning the Ukrainian language, there's a lot that's similar in Polish. It's just different. It's just spelled differently. Same thing in Russian, and there's a lot of things that are common because borders and empires change and fall and collapse and rise. And one of my grandfather's town, like familial towns, has been in 5 different countries in like probably the past 200 years. So what nationality are we? Are then we're still Ukrainian, but that country, that town has been in 5 different countries. So a lot of this is just such fucking ignorance of history. It's historical revisionism. It's a lot of, oh, look at me, I'm so special. Give me a participation trophy because I called something out for being culturally appropriative, or closed when I don't know what I'm talking about. If you knew what you were talking about, like, I can totally respect when someone says, the African traditional religions are closed practices. Get that. That makes perfect sense. But yes, this genetic purity test stuff on that, and I'm sorry, can you tell if someone is Jewish enough looking to work with Lilith? Do you know? Have you asked any of these people, or are you just assuming that they have nothing in their lineage there? That maybe they're trying to reconnect with and to understand. Like, I am deep in my ancestor, like trauma healing and integration work, and I'm going to work with all my ancestors there. I don't know all of them, and I'm trying, I'm working through ancestry, working on stuff on ancestry, to kind of pull those together. There's a larger thing here is just minding your own damn business. I'm not hurting anyone by working with Lilith. In fact, if I have Jewish ancestry, even though it's traced now. Part of my ancestral healing and trauma integration for for that missing generation, again, is a none of your business what I'm doing, but also Lilith is part of my journey. And I'm not going to tell my matron deity that been working with for 5 years to fuck off because I'm apparently not Jewish enough, according to some dipshit on social media. But I see this coming up more and more, so I thought I'd give my perspective on it. And this is something I might do a deeper dive into to really get into the history of Lilith. There are plenty of books out there. I have an entire playlist of books on Lilith. I did it a couple years ago. I don't know if I've had anything new to it, but there are plenty of works on historical works on Lilith out there. Bal Kadmon has a lot on there. Look at the Esoterica channel. Um, Dr. Justin Sledge, look at the history he's put out there on this stuff. The history is there. Read a thing, watch a video, learn a thing before you start acting like an expert on shit you obviously don't know fuck about. If someone came to me and said, okay, here's why it's closed, all I'm hearing is Lilith is a closed practice to Judaism. Do you have any more information than that? Anyways, yeah. I still work with Lilith. I've been doing a lot of path working with Sorath, as if you've watched any of my videos. Lilith's my matron deity. Lilith is my matron. Lucifer is my patron. I work with plenty of other deities. Belial is my divine fuckery. Love you, Belial. Um, but anyways, like sometimes we just have to mind our own business. Like spirits come to us when they want to come to us. Sometimes they're building bridges and gaps that are beyond your comprehension. Especially the deeper you get into spiritual work. Um, and I'm not here just all like, oh, give me money, bring love into my life. I am healing through a lot of shit and changing and transforming because and largely, and this is a point I want to make. I'm gonna do a video on ancestor work, on a lot of what I'm doing for ancestor work as a demonologer. Um, my ancestors don't seem to be minding that. I'm just tired of this because between the oh my god, Lilith is a closed practice, and then the ew, demons and Satan are evil and icky, and you're horrible and dark energy. It's exhausting. It's fucking exhausting. And all I can say to that is mind your own goddamn business. Because you want me to come around picking at all the shit you're doing wrong, because maybe I'll have time for that. Actually, no, I don't. I don't have time to pay attention to other people's bullshit. I've got enough of my own stuff. So mind your own damn business sometimes, people. Jesus fuck. Yeah, apparently perimenopause has not made me any less sassy. I'm a little spicy. A bit very spicy. So, anyways, Lilith is my matron deity. I work with her all the time. If you work with Lilith, make no excuses for it. There's Liliths in the world and there Eves in the world. Don't let the Eves pull you down into their servitude and bullshit. I ain't got time for that. So I keep on keeping on. If you don't like me because I work with Lilith, I kind of don't care. And if it's because I'm not Jewish enough, fuck you. Because you know what? The one thing that I have found with the Jewish community, they have been so welcoming to me. When I first had my ancestry test done like almost 10 years ago, and I was like, oh wow, I didn't know I had some Ashkenazi Jewish. No one, whenever I mention that, and I'm honest with them, I'm like, it's a tiny, tiny little bit. Wasn't raised it. I'm told I get two responses. Welcome to the tribe and hello, cousin. I am That's how that is accepted. Even for the tiniest little trace amount, I am not judged as less than or othered in any way. You're othering people on the behalf when it is none of your damn business to do so. So maybe sit and think about that. You'll probably get butthurt and mad first, but sometimes you need to do that in order to do better. Because how I've learned to do better is by falling on my face, going, "Oh wow, that was a fucked up thing I did." Learned a thing, did better, and kept on doing better. If you want to tell a story, you want to be an expert on something and come across, and maybe you're just doing it for clickbait and rage bait and likes and subs and to get your followers to like, whatever. But you're kind of being shitty too, and you need to acknowledge that. As I said, follow plenty of people, read plenty of books about Lilith. Not a goddamn one's like, oh my God, Lilith's a closed practice. Because that shit comes up in modern books. People talk about it. Wonder why that's missing. And why people feel the need to compartmentalize spirits that are beyond space and time, beyond our control. Do you think Lilith cares if you're from here, there, or anywhere? Lilith will work with you. I mean, unless you're a fucking, piece of shit. I mean, she might have some fun batting you around and torturing you if you think Lilith's gonna be your sex slave, because she does what she wants. And she bows to no one. And as Lilith bows to no one, I bow to no one. And on that note, see y'all later. Don't forget to click like and subscribe. Be sure to follow us on social media. Sign up for our e-newsletter. Yakety schmackety. Algorithms suck, y'all. But I love you. Bye.